Hey kids, I'm in the kitchen again, and today we're just going to do something very simple by making some very easy yeast bread. This will turn out to be a loaf of white bread, nothing fancy, very simple, very easy. Let me show you what I got out for the cook. Alright, so far all we got out is just some white flour. This is some regular yeast, it's not the active quick yeast. Some sea salt, and this is some whey from when I made cottage cheese. And if you don't know how to get the whey that we're using here, you can look at the cottage cheese video. If you don't have whey, you can also just use some water. I got out a bowl, wooden spoon, measuring cup, and measuring spoons. And let me show you what we're going to do and put everything together to make this lovely bread. Okay, so in my bowl I have my flour, my yeast, and some salt. And over here, I've warmed up my whey to about 130 degrees, to switch what we want. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this in together to get the salt and the yeast and the flour incorporated. I'm using a wooden spoon. That's always best when you're working with yeast. And I also like to use a glass bowl. So we're just going to stir it up like that. And then this is a good 1.5 cup plus, only because we're going to need a good 1.5 cup, and sometimes need a little bit more fluid depending on the weather conditions. So we're just going to stir that in. We'll start to see those bubbles. See those bubbles in there? That stuff working already. That's great. We're just going to stir it up. Everything all mixed in. If it doesn't look like the flour and the liquid is getting incorporated well enough, add just a little bit more there. Okay, and we're going to keep stirring. And it's not going to, it's going to look kind of tacky. So I'm not having enough hands to do this properly, so I'll be with you here in just a moment. Okay, I've got that mixed in as best as I can, but it's still not quite the consistency I want. So I warmed up a little bit more whey, and we're going to add a little bit more in here. Just a little, and see if we can get that stirred in. So I'll be back again in a moment. Okay, about a minute later, and all I've done is just incorporate that last bit of whey in there to get a fairly tacky kind of consistency. You can see there it's a wet kind of dough. So all we're going to do now is put a nice towel over top of it, and a plate to kind of harness all that heat from that warm whey water into the bread and let it set for a couple hours. So we'll be back. So I want to show you what I did. I went and just got a big tea towel cloth. I'm going to just cover it up like that. And another plate, put on top of that. Set that aside. Be back in a while. Hey kids, I'm in the kitchen again, and we're going to try to make some yeast bread, but more whole grain. And let me show you what I got out for the cook. Okay, we have some white flour, some whole grain flour back there. It's a combination of white and red wheat berries, which I have ground. Some yeast, sea salt, my whey again. Took out a portion of some oats, and I have some sesame seeds, and poppy seeds over here. And here I have some pumpkin and sesame seeds. So we're going to mix it up and see if we can make a whole grain one. Okay, so here in my bowl I have everything, all of my ingredients, my flours, my sesame seeds and poppy seeds, my sunflower and pumpkin seeds, my yeast and salt and oats. And I'm going to stir this up and get ready to add the whey. All right, so I've gotten everything all incorporated here. Make a little well there in the middle, and I'm going to pour in my whey. I've measured out about 2 cups and heated it up to 130 degrees. And we're just going to add most of this for the moment, and then see if we need to add more in a little bit. So I'm going to start mixing that up. Oh, that's looking good. I'll put a little more in there. You can see all of our good stuff in there. All the seeds and everything. Yeah, there we go. This is the consistency that we're wanting right here. It's a little sloppy, which is fine. way down in the bottom of that bowl, get it all mixed in, all incorporated. See, we got a little bit of dry stuff still at the bottom. We want to get that in. We don't want to mix it too much, just enough to get everything pulled into the batter. That's all we want to do. And my bowl's not scooting around on me this time. I went and got a piece of anti-skid shelving paper and put it on there. There we go. That's looking good. Now see what we got here? It's still a little tacky, and that's what we're looking for. So I am going to grab a tea towel and be right back. All right, so I got my tea towel. I'm going to do the same thing I did like the white bread. Just going to cover it all up here like that. Put a plate on top and stick it in a nice warm place, which today happens to be on my kitchen table where the sun's coming through the window, and leave it set for a few hours. So we'll be back after a while. Okay, we're back, and it's been about 3 hours since the bread was sitting there and raising. Let me show you what it looks like here. Got it sitting right over here, and it's more like double in size, which is good. We're going to get ready to put that into a baking dish and put it in the oven. I got the oven preheated to 450, and we'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. Okay, to get this prepped, what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit of butter. I'm going to smear it here in the bottom of my baking pan, and then I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and line it in there so that it looks a lot like this one I got right here. A little bit of butter and the sides and everything crinkled around to the loaf pan. Okay, so what we're going to do now is grab this right here and gently start working that batter right out of the bowl into our pan. Okay, so what you didn't see was me just very gently take and work that dough right out of that. You can see the claw marks in there from my fingers, and get it put into the loaf pan like that. I'm just going to let it naturally settle the way it is. I want to sprinkle it with a little bit of stuff on top to give it a nice texture on the top, and then we're going to pop this in the oven. Okay, I've got it ready, and I'm getting ready to put it in the oven, and we'll check on it here in about half an hour. So it's been a half an hour, and we're going to check on things and see what they look like in the oven. Stand by. Here we go. Oh, wow. I don't know if you can see that with all the steam. That's the 2 loaves we got in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to reduce the temperature on the oven down to 350 and let it bake for about another 15 minutes. Almost there. 350. Oops. Pass it up. Okay, back in 15 minutes. Okay, timer's done. Let's grab them and see what they look like. Wow. Doesn't that look pretty? Alrighty. That is the white one with the everything seasoning on top. And this is the multigrain one. We're going to pop them out, let them cool. I'll show you how we do that. So I just lifted them up, set them on top of the baking dish, like that. We're going to let them cool for a little bit, and then check them out after a while. Well, kids, there you've got it. They're done and out of the oven. This is the white with everything on top, and this is the homemade multigrain with all the different seeds and things in it. So we'll let you know how they turn out, because one of these goes to a fellowship dinner tomorrow. Hope you enjoy.